All right, welcome back to Hollywood Happy Hour Podcast, Episode 6. All right, so you're back. I'm back. We are in Hollywood, hanging out. This is Episode 6. I brought back JaySin Matlock. I've had him on just a couple episodes ago. You're like, why'd you bring back the same guy that you had before? To this, I tell you, as you know from that episode, he and I run a small production company called Unlimited Destiny Productions. He's around in the office a lot, and he's leaving for New York in a couple hours, and we were just talking about movies and the Oscars anyway, so I said, why not hit record and make a podcast out of it? Perhaps the world thinks that our thoughts are so brilliant, we should record them. So we did, and here we are recording it. I'm releasing this today on Sunday for the Oscars with our predictions and with our thoughts on this whole Oscars so white thing. I think you'd be very surprised. JaySin is a black male living in Los Angeles, working in Hollywood, has very, very interesting views on the entire thing. You might be surprised on what he says, hanging around with me on this podcast. You might be surprised what I say. You might not be surprised. You probably won't be surprised. You might not be surprised what he says. Anyway, regardless, if you're interested in what we have to say, that's enough, and we are very thankful. We talked about that. We talked a lot about, Star Wars was mentioned again. He brings out the nerdy side in these podcasts, doesn't he? We talked about Star Wars a bit, and we talked about the Avengers. We talked about, how the business is being run, the industry is being run as a business and less as an art, and even more so these days because the executives are tightening up those belts, and we'll get into that later. We talked a bit about developing your films. Now, we didn't get as detailed as perhaps I thought we might. Like, that was the whole thing. Like, if we're going to do a second episode with you, JaySin, let's make it definitely more geared towards a certain subject, and we talked about development a little bit, but there's only so far you can go on a podcast without making it a 2-hour teaching seminar on how to develop a film. We just kind of gave the brief outlines. If you have any other questions about development, you can ask questions and comment, or write an email, and we'll try to guide the way as best we can. I mean, my whole thing especially has been, I have this vlog, and I have this blog, and I have this podcast, and I do all these things because, I wish I would have been able to find things like this when I had first started, because information was so hard to find, and that was the thing I needed the most. I needed information on how I could get along further quicker in this industry, because it's a very, very difficult industry to find people to hang out with you for a second and explain how things are done, why they're done the way they're done. So that's what we try to do with this, give you a little bit about how development works and kind of take you into our minds a bit on how we write, what our habits are, et cetera, et cetera. So that comes in later in the episode. But yeah, this is Episode 6. Can't believe how quickly we have gotten here. I just started this whole podcast thing not knowing what it was going to be. The idea of Hollywood Happy Hour Podcast hit me one day. I thought it would have been taken. I think there's the Happy Hour Podcast, something like that out there, but not Hollywood Happy Hour. See, the more specific you get, the more probable you are to find something original. So anyway, not that this is original, but so Hollywood Happy Hour Podcast came up with it and just hit record one day, and here we are, 6 episodes in. Still haven't figured out how to make it quite an hour yet, but we'll get there. It's just a lot of fun. I've just really enjoyed being able to interview people, and I had a lot of people say, well, that's a waste of time, that's not, it's just fun. Why not have fun with what you do? And it doesn't take that much time for me to edit them and record them, and I get to find out more about people around me. I get to personally learn things that and ask questions that I might not normally think to ask. I put this conscious effort into trying to ask good questions, and if there's any ever questions that I don't ask that you're interested in, just let me know. But yeah, so here's Episode 6. Episode 7, our next episode, I'll be interviewing Madison Lawler. She's my co-star in Until Forever. I'm going to keep repeating this name of this movie until everyone goes and sees it. All right, here we go. Episode 6, Hollywood Happy Hour Podcast. Go. All right, welcome back to Hollywood Happy Hour. This is episode number 6. We had technical difficulties. We've already recorded this once, and now we're going again. I think we took our happy hour too seriously, and I messed it up.
I think happy hour then freaking amazing.
So we are here with JaySin Matlock today. Now this is our second episode that we've recorded together. We brought you back obviously because one, we work together all the time, and this is a nice outlet.
I think I should just be a co-host at this point, and we should just interview people.
Well, yeah, I think it'd be fun if you were a part of the show. Let's just jump in real quick. Oscars are tomorrow. Hopefully I get this released by tomorrow before the Oscars. I'm going to do my best to do so. But, Oscars are tomorrow. Let's talk a little bit about the Oscars. Are you excited for the Oscars?
Man, yes.
Yeah?
I'm excited. I think there are some really good movies out there. I think this year was one of the strongest years in known history, in my opinion.
Really?
This year and last year, they're both very strong with a lot of good Best Pictures, a lot of good actors, minus a few that could have been swapped out for some others. But
like what? You can say on here, it's fine. No one's listening.
I will say Michael Fassbender could have been easily swapped out for Michael B. Jordan. Or even... No.
As Steve Jobs?
Yeah. I don't.
Michael B. Jordan.
Steve
Jobs.
I don't think that Steve Jobs was that great, truthfully.
You think Michael B. Jordan should have stepped up and played Steve Jobs?
No.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, I was like,
what
are you
Michael
talking
B.
about?
Jordan could have had Best Actor for
nomination.
Creed,
okay,
as opposed to Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs.
Okay, fair enough. I completely agree with that. Definitely, I think that Michael Fassbender is a good actor. I'm not necessarily a fan, but it's cool. I get it. I get why they picked him. I think Christian Bale would have been a better Steve Jobs, but obviously that didn't work out. When it doesn't work out, what are you going to do? Not make the movie? You got to make the movie.
You have to make
but
the movie.
That doesn't necessarily mean that the guy deserves Best Actor nod because he's playing such a legendary icon.
I'm just going to say this out loud right now. Nor does Christian Bale actually deserve an Oscar nom for his part in Big Short.
Do you feel like he's been going over the top a little bit lately?
I feel like he's just been doing kind of the same Christian Bale thing for the last few years now.
You think he's just doing tricks?
He's just like, I'm Christian Bale. I'm just gonna go do this. And ever since Dark Knight Rises, the Nolan trilogy, he's just kind of just been on like whatever. Yeah.
Well, what about The Fighter though? He did The Fighter with
but that was during that time frame.
I mean, yeah, but it doesn't mean that do you think something personal with him has shut him down?
No, I think he's
or do you
at
think
that
he's just
point
gotten
where
complacent?
we were talking about this the other day, where actors just hit that pinnacle and they either push through it or they don't push through
the plateau.
Their plateau of where they're at as far as their acting range, and I think Christian Bale might have hit that acting range. He's so method and so he's brilliant. He's good. I'm not saying he's not good. So no one. Take that for like, oh, Jay said that Christian Bale is not a good actor. No, he's a great fucking actor. And I'm just saying I think he's hit that plateau of.
So you thought he was brilliant in Newsies?
Range.
You thought?
I did not see Newsies, so I can't comment on that. You know me, I don't like to comment on what I haven't seen.
Yeah, no. No, I love Christian Bale. I think that I thought that he was a bit miscast in that Big Short. You know how I feel about it though. I mean, all respect to Adam McKay, but I thought he was ripping off. I mean, he took the cast of Crazy Stupid Love and made
Wolf of Wall Street
ripoff in order to do like an industrial to show us how the housing crash worked out.
Well, not even industrial. It felt more like a documentary of like, hey, this world is fucked up. This is why it's fucked up, and you guys should pay more attention.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like it was just like he was trying to teach us instead of. I didn't feel entertained by any of it, to be honest with you.
No, I didn't.
Especially once And you know how big of a Ryan Gosling fan I am. As soon as he started
RG.
Yeah, as soon as he started talking to camera in a suit, I was like, well, I've seen this movie.
And then they cut away to like actual like, here's Margot Robbie in a bathtub.
Right, from Wolf of Wall Street. It's like he took both movies and tried to shove them together to make explaining the housing market crash swallowable and tolerable. And I personally couldn't take it. So when people are like, that's the best picture and da-da-da, I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So, you've already brought up Michael B. Jordan. Let's just get it out of the way now and talk about hashtag Oscars So White.
I mean, there's definitely there's an issue there, but I don't think the issue is with the Oscars. I think the issue is with the studio and the system that is set up, that's in place. Mm-hmm. We spoke on this before that it's not so much of an art form anymore. It's more of a business. And there's still art there, don't get me wrong, but
it's now more business, less art, where before it was business and art. Now it's just all business.
All business. Who's going to be the name that's going to bring money into my film? That's going to make us more money, so we can keep just churning out sequel upon sequel or nostalgic movie upon nostalgic movie.
And while that's always been the case, I kind of feel like because there's less money going to the movies, because they're losing money in pirating and with less people going to the theaters and drive-ins and more people downloading them and not buying DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever it may be, they feel the need that they need to tighten their belts and stop spending so much. And because we don't have movie stars anymore. No. Everyone is an actor now. Like Michael B. Jordan, I wouldn't consider him a movie star. I consider him an actor.
Yeah.
George Clooney has that movie star appeal. White guy. Brad Pitt has that movie star appeal. White guy. Now, Eddie Redmayne, I consider him an actor. Now, yes, we're going to use the word star when we talk about somebody like Redmayne or Michael B. Jordan. Because he's dynamic and he's very, very good. But that whole system of like using a star to carry the movie is kind of going away, especially when, look, I worked on that, and I talk about this all the time. I worked on that Insidious 3 music video, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and every single actor in there did an audition. They were Vine stars and YouTube stars, and they walked right on, got paid to do something that there's actors that are hardcore actors that would love to do, but they don't have the name. It's all about business. It's all about hustle anymore, and that's the industry that we're looking at.
Well, you look at what's playing in a factor these days too. It's also your Instagram followers and your Vine followers and
social
your
media
YouTube followers. Like, people like King Bash dude, he's funny as hell, so I'm not knocking him either. I just want to clarify.
The kid's got hustle. The kid's got hustle,
and he's been working
talent,
his ass off. But this dude, I see him in everything now. You know what I mean? And he's been
everything.
And he started off on Vine and YouTube, and that's because he had so many fucking followers.
Yeah.
Like, do you think 20, 30 years ago that kid would have been doing anything?
No.
Not as quickly.
Not as quickly. I mean, talent is undeniable. Eventually, talent wins out. Most of the time. I mean, I'm sure there's tons and tons of horror stories about the greatest actor. And look, I mean, I've told you this a million times. Back in Indiana, working in a theater, doing 6 shows a year, I saw some amazing actors that could have been working actors here in Hollywood that just didn't want to be in Hollywood. They wanted to work their job and work at a community theater, and they were amazing. Those people going to that community theater show for $15 a show got their fucking money's worth, man.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Look, when we're coming back to this Oscar so white thing, what we're saying here is we understand that it's not the nominating committee for the Academy or the Hollywood Foreign Press. Look, granted, there's probably some things you can tweak in there, but those aren't the people to be boycotting and shaming.
No, and do I think there's...
It starts at the top.
I don't think there's racism. Don't get me wrong. There might be some racism.
Yeah.
On some level, but I don't really think the majority of people. I mean, for Christ's sakes, the head of the Oscars nominate the president is black. Really,
black woman.
You think? Yeah, a black woman. You think she's like, oh wait, no, I don't want any black people in here.
No.
And the biggest argument I hear is like Straight Outta Compton, Beast of No Nation.
Well, let's go through them. Straight Outta Compton,
Beast of No Nation, Straight Outta Compton. All the actors were green. It was a good nostalgic movie. And I think we both said this, that the music is what carried that movie.
Of course it is, and the nostalgia of that music.
And the nostalgia of that music, but the actors were green. I'm not saying that they weren't good.
Or not going to be the greatest actors.
But because you're good, should you get an Oscar nomination? No, you got to be fucking great. You got to like blow my mind and make me go, wow.
Yeah.
Like when I leave a movie theater, I need to be like, wow. I need to be like so like in a funk that I don't even know where I'm at because my reality was just distorted because an actor just blew my fucking mind.
Well, you know what's interesting to me is that watching the movies that they say got snubbed. Now, I still haven't seen Concussion, so I can't speak on that yet, but you saw Concussion.
I saw Concussion, and don't get me wrong, Will Smith took it to another level. I think a pretty solid accident. There was times where I forgot it was Will Smith, which is really hard to do.
Well, that's the mind blowing.
Will Smith has such a clout behind his name.
So you know if you and we're gonna go back. I want to go
back
to
the clout of awesomeness. By the way, I just want
to we're gonna go back to Beast of No Nation in a second. But if you had to choose, you just said that Michael B. Jordan could have easily been traded out for Fassbender with Steve Jobs. If you had to pick between Michael B. Jordan and Will Smith to take that spot, who would go?
I think I would take Michael B.
Why Michael B. over Will Smith?
I just felt more out of the whole movie Creed than I did out of.
Well, we're not voting best movie. We're voting best actor.
No, but if they're the lead actors and they're the one who's carrying the movie, they're responsible for the feeling that I feel when I leave that movie. You know what I mean?
For some part, yeah. So you're saying, though, that you felt more from Michael B. Jordan's performance than Will Smith's.
Yeah, and I think...
Do you think that did that have to do with script or performance?
That's a tough one.
Because maybe the script for Concussion just didn't lead you into those feelings. Look, I mean, it's a Rocky movie. You're going to walk out chanting and feeling like you're ready to go box. No matter how they cut it, it's a Rocky movie. They're following that formula.
And Coogler did an amazing job.
Oh, yeah, he's a brilliant director. Yeah, for sure. Look, either way, it's probably a tight choice, but we both agree that one of those guys could have stepped in for Fassbender.
Yeah, either one. I mean, either one.
Yeah. So,
my vote would have been for Michael, but I will too. Either one. It doesn't matter.
If you're asking me, I think personally that it was the young boy from Beast and No Nation. Everyone's complaining that Idris didn't get a supporting actor nomination. He was good, and he again did
but also
a great
Idris
accent.
has that name behind him, and so a lot of people are more upset. That's why people are upset about the Will thing, is because that name.
Well, again, we're not giving you a best actor, and by we, I'm not part of the nominating committee, but you're not getting an Oscar based upon your career. You're getting an Oscar based upon your performance. Now, Idris Elba was very, very good in that movie. Very, very convincing. His accent was flawless. But he was blown off the screen by this kid. I think, if I remember right, it's Abraham Attah. This kid taught me a lesson in acting. I mean, this kid was amazing acting coming from him. He didn't get a nomination, and no one's complaining about that because he's only, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years old. So, again, a lot of it, what I have a problem with, not only is maybe there's racism, blah, 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 but all these political nominations based upon, we already give out a Lifetime Achievement Award, but we're complaining when somebody, like what we're saying with, Idris has that name behind him. Will Smith's done all these movies. He's ready for it. He did Ali. He did this. It's not a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's a Best Actor for the role that you played that year against these other actors. And that's where it's so hard to divide that feeling of... that they deserve it based upon those things, though, don't you think?
I think so. And here's my problem with that Oscars so white thing is that no one is bringing the fact that there's no Latinos, there's no Asians. It's all about black people. And as a black male, I kind of find that offensive. Because, yes, there are black people out there, but black people aren't the only race out there that aren't getting these jobs. And like I said, it comes down to the studios. I don't think it comes down to the Oscars. It comes down to studios. But, I mean, you're part of SAG. Did you get Concussion for your movie to watch, to vote? No, you know
what? They didn't even send it to me. They didn't send it to
Concussion.
me. He wasn't nominated for a SAG award.
You didn't get Creed.
No, I didn't get Creed. I got
Beast and No Nation.
Yeah, I got Beast and No Nation. And
so that also comes down to marketing.
And I got Straight Outta Compton.
Then we're looking at marketing at that point.
Right. So again, those companies didn't put the money in on their marketing side to promote those movies to get the awards. Because look, I did get a chance to, and I would probably feel a lot different if I did see Will Smith. I've seen the trailer about 1 million times, and I did see Creed. I made it a point to go to see that film. Great film. I did get copies of Beast and No Nation, Straight Outta Compton, and I actually felt less about those movies.
I feel like everyone should have saw Beast and No Nation. It's on Netflix. Like, if you didn't see it, that's your fault.
Well, Netflix is cool enough for people who have SAG. They sent them 3 months free Netflix.
Oh, they did?
I mean, that only comes up to, $24? But still, they sent me $24 to essentially watch a couple of their series and give them a click of the button on the vote. And, I mean, I've always been a Netflix subscriber, so, I mean... Of course, I voted for Orange is the New Black, and I did vote for Idris. And
you're talking about for SAG Awards, right?
For SAG Awards, okay, for SAG Awards, purely. I did vote for Idris. I gave them a lot of my votes, not because they gave me 3-month subscription or because I did get a DVD of Beast and No Nation, but because they deserved it. And I think that's what we need to come back to, is who deserves it. Now, what I want to talk about, though, is...
No one deserves a nomination because of the color of their skin.
No absolutely not.
Hands down.
Now, here's the thing that I want to talk about is... There's, we're hearing all the time about how in education arts get cut first, and how in inner cities the arts are almost non-existent. That's why there is that stereotype that everyone talks about. You either need to learn how to play basketball or rap or whatever, right?
Or play football or something.
Play football or something like that. That's a problem right there, and we would have more undeniable talent like a Will Smith, Idris Elba, or Michael B. Jordan, if there were more concentration there. So we need to start at the absolute bottom, and by bottom what I mean is we need to start at the beginning with kids getting more training and more opportunity to be artists and be great artists. Not saying that there's not a lot of great black artists or any other color artists. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there does need to be more opportunity there. Absolutely more opportunity there. Because there's just not. From the town we came from, and this is nothing going against the theaters there, but they don't do a lot of plays with minorities because of the fact that they feel like they're not going to get enough talent coming out to the auditions to do them. So we need more opportunities.
I look back at the things I've auditioned for, and it was always like supporting role or like ensemble because we did a lot of musical theater. They do a lot of musical theater.
Or you not accidentally, but you kind of wind up getting placed in a stereotypical or almost or on the nose racist role. Yeah. Because, you're going to be going into this where you're playing in Oklahoma, unless you're making it a choice, which in my high school they did. They made Aunt Eller, which is one of your lead characters. They made her, they cast a black girl in that role, and she blew us all off the damn stage.
I love how you say my school, like I didn't go to the same school.
Right, well, our school, sure. And then all the other, and then they made Judd a black guy, which is, that kind of feels, could have been looked at as, well, is that racist? No, absolutely not. It's not racist. But, because of the fact that there's not any other black folks in the cast, that's where people go, is that racist? Because there's no balance there. But at the same time, and this is something that we were talking about before, is all the movies, not all the movies, a lot of the movies that are nominated are period pieces set in places that are mostly white. So if you're doing an Oklahoma in a high school, Oklahoma back then, there was a lot lot of segregation going on back then.
Oklahoma back then? Probably now. And I'm kidding.
But you know what I'm saying. So, and then again, in Danish Girl, that's set in,
circa whatever,
long time ago. And how many people weren't white back in that time?
Brooklyn's Best Picture nomination. Right. That was way back then.
Now that should have. I still haven't seen that, but that should have had a nicely balanced cast. If you're asking me, but I still haven't seen it yet.
I think it was like World War II, or if I had to put my thumb on it.
In Brooklyn, I mean, there should have been a nice melting pot there, because that's when the melting pot was the most melting pot that it was. There's no difference between that and today.
Then what do we have for Best Pictures? Mad Max.
Mad Max isn't that all white?
It's all white. There's
white. Yeah.
There's not one black person in there, and that's not to say anything against George Miller. I thoroughly loved that movie. It was a fucking adventure ride.
I mean that movie deserved its Best Picture. There's a lot of people that contest that. Oh, well, Tom Hardy didn't do anything. He was just strapped to a car. Blah blah blah. Whatever. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a crazy movie. I mean, how many people could have made that movie that good?
No, not.
So
maybe not that. It's so tough when like you ask questions of like who could have did this other than this director or this actor. It's tough because it's things. Like, well, who else would I put? No one else has that pizzazz or that style as George Miller.
And who better to do it?
Gritty too. Like it was really gritty for a big budget movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was wild. It was so imaginative. I personally don't have that imagination. So what are our other Best Pictures? Do we know?
We got The Big Short. Brooklyn.
Spotlight. Spotlight. You're talking
Bridge
about
of Spies.
Journalists in Boston. Here, let's stop at Spotlight real quick. So you're talking about Journalists in Boston,
which is predominantly white.
Right, but what do you think? And I don't want to harp on this too much here and make this a completely political podcast here. But what if Mark Ruffalo's character is transferred out for Anthony Mackie? Does that hurt the story or help the story?
I don't think it hurts the story at all.
So why not? Because Mark Ruffalo is a bigger name.
Well,
that's the only thing that the studios have to say about it.
You think, or is it that? Are they trying to be historically accurate as possible? Because in the Spotlight,
well, it was based on a true story. Yes,
so that's what I'm saying. So they're trying to make not more of a, I don't want to say documentary, but make it as realistic as possible.
Well, if it's based on a true story, you need to try to stick to the story as close as possible.
You don't want to random black guy
astray. Right. Or but does that matter?
To me, no, it doesn't. But I think
it doesn't matter to me either. I'd be like, "Oh, interesting choice." They felt
this is based on a true story.
But they would worry that and of course, look, I'm a guy who did a movie that was based on a true story. We wanted to be so historically accurate that we filmed in all of the actual locations. I mean, we went a little overboard with it. So, you know, but, you know, I guess I'm just playing devil's advocate with the whole thing. Let's just come back around, though, to what you and I are a bit most disappointed about through this whole Oscar so white thing, is that someone's being underlooked in this whole situation, and it's Alejandro.
Yeah. No, he definitely is being underlooked. As what is his heritage? I know he says
he's Mexican.
He's Mexican.
He's from
okay,
Mexico,
I didn't know if he was Mexican. I know he's of Hispanic origin, but this man is possibly. I'm gonna just say he's gonna win 2 years in a row. I mean, and Birdman,
he is, and I think it's the first time that that's happened.
Yeah.
If a director has had 2 Best Pictures in a row, has a director ever had 2 Best Pictures in a row that's not even from America?
Yeah. And
that's crazy and awesome, and we're just skipping over that because we're so caught up on what Chris Rock's going to say in his
black versus white. I think I don't know if I said that, but I keep getting this black versus white thing, and there's like I said, Asians, Mexicans, there's
it's
Hispanics,
like 60s part 2 right now. I don't understand where all this.
It's not about black versus white. It's more about just getting people of different ethnic origins into the movies, and it comes down to the studios putting those people into those movies
and feeling like they can take a chance.
Yeah, taking a chance.
Well, you know, they have, but they have all the figures though. They know how many you know, of each different race is going to the movies, and each different age category, and each different gender, who's going to the movies, who's spending the most at the movies, and it's not adding up based on who's being seen on the screen. And look, I mean, and if I'm being completely honest, it kind of hurts my feelings a bit as a white actor to see everyone bashing white actors so much lately. But at the same time, I completely understand that feeling of not working, because look, I mean, I've hit patches in my career where I'm like, I'm never going to work again.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a scary thing. And for, you know, certain minorities to go, you know, well, they've got a Michael Pena, so that age range of the Mexican guy with heart is kind of covered right now. You know, like to only have one guy there, for me, I'm like, well, there's 30 other white guys with blonde hair, blue eyes. I mean, look, I have more of a chance of working. I completely get it. But I wish that we were less on the mindset of bashing an entire race and more along the lines of spreading love and
trying to fix the problem.
Instead of complaining about what the problem is.
You know, and I think you said it earlier.
Because people are going to get hurt.
Well, you said it earlier. It's that bottom level of like getting arts to inner city schools. I mean, you look at all of our top, let's say, actors of almost any nation at this point. They're all fucking British.
Oh yeah, all the white. Yeah, I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch just came in and took every
I know.
role,
Rick Grimes was Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead is British.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy's British. We're looking
at. He's Australian.
I think he might New Zealand. I don't know what but he's not from America. That's for sure.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But is that wrong though? I mean, because you know. Idris is English as well. Is that wrong though? Because I mean, look, I mean that's.
But they're getting the training. They're getting that nurture that we're not getting in America.
Yes,
is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And that's
classically trained actors.
Yeah, and so
that's the thing that America. And look, I think you're saying it right. America's kind of lost that work ethic that we once had. I know so many actors that are like they did Killian's Commercial Workshop, and they're like, I'm ready to work with Spielberg. Like, you've never acted. You've never even done a shitty play before. How are you ready for Spielberg?
You did a Commercial Workshop. You think you work with Spielberg? Really?
Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here. Go study for 8 years.
As I like to say.
Go study for 8 years in college and do 50 plays and stay in class every single day, and then maybe you'll be ready. Maybe if you really have the talent inside of you. But
who played Finn is I think he's British too. I can't think of his name right now, and I should know this because he's
from Star Wars.
The only other than Lando Calrissian is the only other black actor in Star Wars.
Sam Jackson.
Oh yeah, Sam Jackson too. Yeah. The legendary Sam Jackson.
Dude's been in every movie.
Mace Windu. Purple lightsaber. He came in and changed the fucking game.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm not doing anything. Is that why UDP's color is purple?
No. The color of purple, like a dark, rich plum, is one of my favorite colors.
Yeah, it's a cool color.
And as being younger, I wasn't comfortable enough with myself because everyone was like, purple and pink's the girl's color. And I was like, man. And so finally, as I got older, I was like, fuck that. Purple could be whatever. You can like whatever color you want to like. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you know what? Purple's my color.
Color of royalty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to The Revenant real quick because I want to talk about.
Did we speak on that? Oh yeah,
we did. But I want to talk about Leo now because we were talking about actors and being trained and whatnot. Leo's been in the game a long time, and now granted, everyone's like
does he not own the game at this point?
He does, and everyone's like he's gonna get the Oscar because it's his time. I think that's bullshit. I think he's gonna get the Oscar because he delivered the best performance, and everyone's like he grunted and cried his way to get that Oscar. Let me tell you something. As an actor, dialogue is your friend, and it makes acting a hell of a lot easier. Try carrying a 2-hour, 30-minute film when you're out in the blistering cold. And granted, no, you don't have to do tricks to get an Oscar, but go out there and try to do that and give an amazing performance by telling the truth every single second of that time without me ever going, oh, he phoned that in because he was too tired and cold that day or he was sick that day.
Yeah.
No, every single moment of that movie, he's telling the truth, and he's not doing it through dialogue. He's got, I don't know how many pieces of dialogue, between like 30 and 75, I feel like. It's probably more than that, but, it's not a lot of dialogue, especially because Tom Hardy's talking through the whole goddamn movie. And everyone's like, oh, he's so intriguing and he's the best part of that movie. I'm like, really? Really? He's great in that movie, don't get me wrong, and I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's our modern-day Marlon Brando. Just hope he doesn't gain all that Marlon Brando weight and go crazy. But he is our modern-day Marlon Brando, and but Leo carried that movie, man.
He did. He really did. And
can you imagine?
I'm going to just throw spoiler alert out right now because there's some things I need to say about the film in order to have this conversation.
All right, Revenant spoiler alert.
Revenant spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, just shut the podcast off or fast forward to the end or whatever you want to do at this point. But, like, I don't know how they filmed that bear scene, but I felt like that was a real fucking bear.
You don't know how?
No, I have no idea. I didn't watch.
I've looked up a lot of it just because I was so curious and wanted to know. Alejandro doesn't want people knowing how they did it. It's a mixture of a guy wearing a bear suit that's blue for blue screen, blah, 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 with all little dots on it. It's a mixture of that and a little bit of CGI and a real bear that was filmed.
Really?
It's a mixture of the three, and it's a very, very, very complicated process that I don't know how to do.
No,
I get how they did it, but I
assumed it was like it was like motion capture of some sort.
A bit of mocap, yeah. And I mean, the mocap is.
I didn't know they actually filmed a real bear. That's kind of.
Well, of course. I mean, there are certain parts that are.
But that scene, like that whole movie was intense. But that scene was really just like, oh, whoa. Like
my fists were up, like I was ready to fight that bear while I was in the theater.
And he was just fighting for his life at that point. Yeah. And you could feel that emanating from Leo's character. And like you can't like
you feel those claws going through your back.
And I guarantee you, even though they filmed a real bear, they did not film that real bear with Leo. Everything he did was probably motion capture.
No, yeah, of course, yeah. They just transpose everything so beautifully. But I can't believe they talked about the bear was raping him. I mean, it's a mother bear
was raping him.
You didn't hear about this?
No.
This was a huge deal before the movie was coming out. There was a rumor going around everywhere that there's a scene in the movie where a bear rapes Leo.
What?
And there was like, okay, first of all, it's a mother bear. It's a mother bear.
There's obviously cubs
protecting
walking
its cubs.
Right by them.
Because, Alejandro and the team that did The Revenant studied and watched all these bear attack videos. They knew the nature of the bear is to flip the human over and push it down and attack its back and, go for the spine and go for the neck and to kill the human that way. That's what they do instinctually, and they go for the neck, of course, which is why Leo's neck is spoiler alert, yeah, cut open. Anyway, look, my main point is like, Leo's done a lot of great acting in his career, but I've never seen him so raw, so gritty, so open,
and so
vulnerable as he was here. He wasn't being the slick, charismatic, charming Titanic boy anymore.
Pretty blue-eyed boy.
He gave a performance that carried a 2-hour and 30-minute movie with very little dialogue out in the wilderness. Now, is that what it takes to make a Best Actor award? A Best Actor Oscar award? No, but it helps.
But I'm telling you, like, I was talking about that funk and that fog. When I left, like, I literally had to, like, just sit in the car for a moment and just mentally, like, just gather myself. And don't get me wrong,
Process
all of that had to do with Alejandro and the shots that he chose and the cinematography. But none of that could have been possible without Leo's character. None of that could have been.
You know, I want to know something. If any of our listeners know this answer or can find this answer out for me, please email me. Why does Alejandro put comets passing through the sky in his movies? In Birdman, if you look at Birdman, there's a comet passing through the sky at the beginning. And in The Revenant, there's another comet passing through the sky. I don't know if that's coincidence. That. I noticed it the second time I watched The Revenant, and I was like, why does that look familiar? And I went back, because Birdman I own, and I'm speaking like Yoda all of a sudden. Birdman I own. So I looked at it. I
own the Birdman. I don't know. That was like a Mexican Yoda. That was horrible.
So anyway, a comet passes through, whatever. I don't understand why. I think it's really cool if that's going to be his trademark. I just wish I understood why that was happening. But regardless of whatever happens, I think we got an interesting year of the Oscars. Did I ask you if you've always watched the Oscars your entire life?
No, you have not. And no, the answer is no, man. Like, I felt when I became a filmmaker, it was kind of my responsibility to look into the Oscars. And by looking, I started, like, looking in, like, oh, I'll watch this film if I want to watch it. Now, like, I kind of feel a responsibility to watch every film. And do I get to watch every film every year? No, just because of, like...
You do pretty good, though.
I do pretty good. I see a lot of them. And being in Indiana this last winter, like, really helped because it was, like, $4.50 a ticket. Like... I was like going to movies every day. I saw movies I wouldn't even care to see, like just stupid stuff.
Oh, you want $4.50?
$4.50?
Take your full.
Yeah, because you know in LA it's like $15-$20, and my mom was like, "Why are you spending so much on movies?" I was like, "Ma, you don't understand.
I just got 4 movies for the ticket of one." I was like,
"Really, Ma? I really got like 4 free movies. Like you don't get this.
You have no idea what's happening.
I'm taking advantage of this right now." And I took my brother to see.
I'm popping tags, baby.
The Hateful Eight. I took my dad to see Creed. I took my brother to see both my brothers to see Hateful Eight. And I took my my youngest brother to see The Revenant, and here's someone who never sees movies, and he thoroughly was just like that's a 9 out of 10. That movie was just intense.
He's got good taste. He just doesn't know it.
Yeah, I mean they both loved Hateful Eight too, so that's not. Well, that's a fun movie. That was a fun movie.
It's amazing to me that movie didn't blow up more than it did. And
I know.
If you look at I've got my program from the.
Quentin Tarantino did a Western whodunit mystery. What the fudge?
I know. Well, I mean, look, for us it's a lot of fun now. But you have and look when we first started talking about movies seriously.
I didn't even know who Quentin Tarantino was.
You didn't know who he was. You were very much
refused to watch any of his
Michael
movies.
Bay movies. Yeah. You loved your favorite movies were Bad Boys 1 and 2.
Yeah.
At the time, you really loved Entourage.
I had never watched anything pre-2000, pretty much.
Right, and also you really loved things that were flashy and fun and full of action and very much ostentatious. That's one of your words you like to say. But your taste has changed so much. So now for you to go, why wouldn't people like this Western whodunit from Quentin Tarantino? Can you imagine you saying that in front of your former, 22-year-old self? Your 22-year-old self would have been like, you're a dork.
GTFOH. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. Who are you? So, I mean, your taste has just changed so much. So, for a bunch of movie nerds who movies are one of our drugs where we're trying to ingest as much of it as possible, and we want to be great filmmakers and we want to see great films because, frankly, so many of the films, as we talked about before, are kind of boring. Look, I mean,
I'm actually depressed this time of year because there's just like nothing good until May.
What are we gonna go watch, right? So
Deadpool.
But... I mean, if you are in Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, or any of the surrounding areas, you go see Until Forever. But outside of that,
shameless plug. #shameless plug.
So shameless. But look, we were talking earlier about like people like Ryan Coogler who directed Creed. I mean, this cat came up with Fruitvale Station. Before that, he had a couple of student films, and he's just a writer who came up. I mean, you do have great artists that are coming up. I think we're just in this flux period. Even look at the director who did Deadpool. That guy was a visual effects artist who did like 6 short films with mostly visual effects, and then was hired to be the director for the $250,000 leaked footage of Deadpool, that leaked bit, cost $250,000.
Really? I didn't know
that. Yep. So it was an all animated CGI-based short.
I know it was $250,000.
Yep, that's how much the studio gave, and then they made Deadpool, and the writers had been writing for a while. The writers of Deadpool wrote Zombieland. That was their big claim to fame, and
Which was a freaking hilarious twist on a zombie.
Well, I mean, all of it. That Bill Murray scene alone, you can take that out and just be like, wow, I can't believe this got made, and this is very cool that it did.
Yeah.
In a serious movie, like that's something that should have been like Funny or Die.
I think you know what I like too, though, is that we talk about this about you are a stickler for names and scripts, and I'm like, I don't care, just name him Bob. I don't care.
Right.
But I like the fact that none of them really had names. It was like Tallahassee, and you just didn't know their names, and you knew who they were, but their names fit.
For people who don't have a home to be having names of places that they don't call home is extremely ironic and very cool.
Yeah. It was brilliant. The writers in that were really good.
Yeah. This has become a film criticism.
It really has, and this is not the intention we were supposed to have.
No, but that's all right. That's all right. We started out with the Deadpool. I mean, we started out with the Oscars, but Deadpool is just on my mind a lot lately. I mean, something that I kind of wanted this episode to be was to talk a bit about development, and I guess bringing up Deadpool is a great place to kind of segue into it. So, the thing that I heard today, I was listening to this podcast with the Deadpool writers, and they talked about how when Deadpool arms himself up and gets all the guns together, and he puts them in that bag, and then he leaves that bag in the taxi, that was...
Spoilers, by the way, guys. Let's just throw spoilers out.
Spoilers.
People are weird.
Yeah, whatever. You know what? If you don't like spoilers, don't listen to my podcast anymore. Just, if you're not seeing the movies and you're going onto a Hollywood happy hour podcast, listening to people talk about movies, and you're mad that I say a spoiler, you're a fucking idiot. Just go listen to something else. Go listen to NPR or something.
Get troll letters now.
I don't even care. I don't care. Whatever. So Deadpool leaves the bag in the car after he arms up. He does the classic, I'm going to grab this gun and that gun and this gun and that gun. He gets in the taxi to go fight.
He gets a shit ton of guns.
Right. He leaves the bag of guns in the car. While that seems like a brilliant piece of writing, the reason that happened was because they needed to figure out how they were going to cut money out of the script for the budget to be as low as it was, which was $58 million. They cut that down, had him leave the guns in the car. Instead of a gunfight, it was...
a sword fight.
A sword fight, which is $1 million cheaper. They saved $1 million by doing that. Now, that's an amazing thing. And for me, we've talked about this a lot before, is we talk about Joss Whedon a bit. We talk about how he says openly that he was a bit unhappy with Avengers 2.
Yeah.
Right? So... for me, I get it, but dude, you're making a $250 million movie. That's $250 million movie, and you're mad that your vision didn't come across because Disney wanted it to be a certain way because they needed to watch out for their funds.
But isn't that the thing? If you say as a company, hey, you're the guy I want to helm my fucking franchise. Mm-hmm. I'm putting faith and trust in you. I feel like, especially after the first one, let's take the first one, because I feel like he had a lot more control in the first one. Because I didn't hear all this negative stuff coming off the first one.
No.
So I feel like he got to do his own thing on the first one, which broke records, which made a shit ton of money, which set the precedent.
What was the budget for the first one? Do we know?
I don't know.
Let me find out.
I know the second one was $250. That much I do know.
Yeah. I'm gonna look up the first one. Keep talking.
But you have this creative freedom for the first one, and you get to make the movie you want to make, and everyone loves it. And I'll be honest with you, the second one was kind of a little bit lackluster for me. I was underwhelmed.
Even the way that it was filmed, it was very boring. The dialogue scenes, they had nothing going on.
Yeah. Did I enjoy the movie? Yes, I enjoyed it.
Sure.
Please don't take that as I didn't enjoy it.
And look, the production budget for the first movie was $220 million. So it was
only $30 million more. So you guys couldn't give this man who you trusted with your first one, who's kind of been like a creative liaison.
How do we know that they did trust him completely with the first one? Because that was the biggest movie Joss had ever made.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong there. I just didn't hear anything negative about the first one from Joss.
And maybe there was changeover with the execs who were in control of that money at the time, or maybe they just feel a little bit more cautious with their money. It's like we always say, scared money don't make money.
But I mean,
this is why I never want to direct a movie that big, is because I don't ever, I don't have a problem with directing small movies, personal movies that are a labor of love and I get exactly what my vision is across or whatever, outside of listening to 80 people tell me exactly what they want my movie to be, then it's not my movie. Not that a movie is ever your movie as a director, because anyone who ever puts
collaborative process.
When it says an Alfred Hitchcock movie, this is what I talk about with my director Michael Lynn. We had our last interview and we talked a lot about this during our podcast, so I won't reiterate too much. But you're right, it's a collaborative process. So we have to have that. But at the same time, when you got 80 guys, or it's not really 80, but when you have a bunch of executives who aren't artists, who aren't filmmakers, telling you how the movie needs to be made, I can understand why that would be extremely annoying.
Yeah. But, I mean, Disney does this thing that I call, like, Disneyfying their product. And I understand it's their brand, it's their product, but they don't take risk anymore. And I don't think Walt, when he... And I could be totally wrong speaking on Walt's behalf, and that could be a mistake on my part. But I don't think Walt, when he set out to start his company, he was like, I don't want to take risks, because his whole thing was a risk.
The whole thing was a risk. Well, and they don't call them Imagineers for nothing. The guys who create the park are called Imagineers. They want you to use your imagination. They want you to think outside the box.
Take those
they want you
risks.
to take the risks. That's what imagination is.
Be creative, you know. I hear a lot of people talk about Star Wars, for example. They're like, oh, well, it was just like a remake of
A New Hope.
5.
Yeah.
And yes, I understand why. I thoroughly love Star Wars, and I thought
you're going down a whole different path.
Keep going. Another rabbit hole. I enjoyed it, and I liked what they did with it, but I did want them to be more risk taking. I did want them to take. There's so much, and but here's the thing: when Disney bought Star Wars, they just like the extended universe, everything's gone. None of that means shit. And I'm like, what? Kyle Katarn was such a great character.
All those years and projects.
So many Luke and Leia stories that were just gone.
Here's my thought, though. Here's my thought, though, on this whole they didn't take risks thing. I think it's a bit of BS. I mean, look, how many risks are you supposed to take when you're doing a new origin story? They had to reboot, essentially, the franchise by doing number 7
because I understand
we've got to restart the story. But come on, you're telling me that opening battle scene where stormtroopers are actually bleeding and getting shot and fighting like actual warriors instead of just marching in like a bunch of extras who didn't have direction like you did you saw in the first
6.
The first 6, they were just walking around like idiots. These stormtroopers meant business. They were choreographed. They were killers. They were assassins. These guys looked like soldiers for the first time. I was wowed in the way that it was shot. It did not look like what I thought it was going to. I thought they were going to stick to more of the practical effects, and not that they used a ton of CGI. I mean, they used a lot of CGI, but they didn't use as much as I thought they would, but they also didn't do as many practical effects as I thought they would. I thought JJ found a nice balance. Not to mention, as we've been talking about, when Joss Whedon makes the Avengers, it's Joss Whedon's Avengers through his brain. When JJ makes Star Wars or Star Trek, it's that through his brain, because everyone's working for his vision. So while it's not just him making the film, it is his incarnation of the film. I just, so when we were talking about a so-and-so film, like a Quentin Tarantino film, that dude wrote the script, he's directing it, he's editing it. A lot of it is going through him. He's making all the decisions on costume and props and locations and how the edit's going to go, what music's going to go in. So in that, I get why it's a Quentin Tarantino film. And I would highly doubt that Joss Whedon or J.J. Abrams or Quentin Tarantino would ever in the open say, yeah, I did the whole thing by myself. They know damn well they didn't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so going back to Star Wars, when it was said that J.J. is going to direct Star Wars, I was a bit nervous, but I kind of knew what to expect, and I got what I expected. What's that?
I wasn't nervous. I trust,
I was nervous because he was so good at Star Trek, I didn't know how he was going to be able to do Star Wars and make it different.
I guess I knew J.J. is a fanboy. I knew that, but I also knew that I never once was like, Star Trek is awesome. I love Star Trek. I thoroughly fucking have always been Team Star Wars and have hated Star Trek.
Right.
But JJ created this fucking world that made me go, huh. All right, Star Trek, I see you. I'm interested in you. And it made me want to go watch the old stuff to figure out some of the things that were in there.
And did you?
I watched some of it.
Yeah.
I'm still a fan of JJ's more than anything.
Yeah.
So I was not, I wasn't worried about Star Wars at all. I was thoroughly like, okay, JJ's got this. And it was very interesting because this whole process, you didn't watch any trailers. And I'm like, dude, watch the trailers. I'm at Comic-Con seeing everything I fucking can.
I didn't see one Star Wars trailer, no teasers. I didn't see the poster. I accidentally scrolled through Facebook and saw part of the poster, but it looks like every other poster, so I definitely ignored it. Couldn't have, like, redraw what it is. I couldn't redraw you what the poster was. So when I went in there that day to see Star Wars...
You had the freshest mind of probably anyone.
Yeah, because I didn't go see anything, didn't hear anything, and so when I went in, it was completely fresh, and I was completely wowed, and I loved it. I mean, I only saw it once, and I should have seen it... Normally, I don't like to speak on a movie unless I've seen it twice, but seeing it once, I mean, I was very happy with it, and I think it fits perfectly into the 6 that were already made, regardless of how we feel about episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Regardless. Everyone hates them. I still stand by that. I love the fact that there was a lot of Jedi in 1, 2, and 3, so it made me like 1, 2, and 3.
But they're not even Star Wars. They're just not. We can't get on a Star Wars.
It's a political drama about trade federations and route blocks and taxes and bullshit.
Yeah. Is the Yoda fight when he grabs that lightsaber when he's younger cool? Yeah, man. Is it cool when, you see Anakin turn into Darth Vader? Yeah, man. Is it cool that you kind of see what's to come and they were able to lay it out nicely? Yes, but getting through episode 1 alone, outside of the weird pod races that are in there, is hard work.
Yeah, I agree.
It's boring. Anyway, thank goodness they put Sam Jackson in there. Anyway.
Purple lightsaber.
Killing it. So, so we're talking about development now. So what I want to do is kind of just talk people through what development is. We don't have a ton of time left, and I don't want to bore people, so it's perfect. So we only have a little bit of time to talk about what development is, but I kind of want to make this a bit educational at the same time. So development is something that is very, very confusing, very, very hard. Everyone wants to know how to get funding and how to get a script written and how do you become a writer and how do you do this, how do you do that. I think it all starts with a good script, right?
Yeah.
So the thing with that is, how do we make a good script?
Hours upon hours of rewrites.
It's all about the rewrite. Now, the thing that, you hear, the most common questions are, how many pages should I write a day? Should I use note cards up on the wall? Should I do an outline?
I think you just
how many hours?
Find what works for you.
I think so too. For me personally, I can write up to 10 pages a day because I'm a very fast writer. I'll rewrite the crap out of those 10 later because they're not all going to be gold, but I can kick it out really quick. But I work off of an outline, so I know where they're going. And once I, not to sound too much like Tarantino here, but once I get my characters talking, they talk and they go. If they know where they're going. If they don't know where they're going, they just stand there looking at me saying, what's going on in the story? We don't know. You need to know where we're going. You're the captain. You're the one leading the ship. So you better tell us where we're going so we can talk and act as we should as characters. That's what I think. I don't use the cards up on the wall. I get bogged down by that. It's if I don't know what the story is, putting cards up on the wall isn't going to make me see it any better. I have a pretty good instinct as a writer to know when Act 2 starts and when it ends and goes in Act 3. I have a pretty good idea. I'm very much a stickler, like you said, about naming my characters, very much a stickler of what is my opening shot, what is my closing shot. I like them to bookend really well. I like the first shot to echo the last shot to echo the first shot, rather. I'm a big stickler on... and there's certain themes and motifs I put in. I mean, what's interesting is most of my stuff. I mostly write crime style screenplays, and there's a lot of my Catholic upbringing that kind of resonates in the scripts. But that's kind of what works for me. What works for you as a writer?
I mean, it just really depends. Once I get an idea, I kind of just run with it. And I just, I write, and you can attest to this, that I've done some horrible writing stuff, some god awful stuff, and some stuff that is very salvageable, and that can be something brilliant and great. There was genius in it. There's some things that I just need to sit back and figure out what's gonna make this crack and what's gonna make it tick. But ultimately, what it comes down to is just having that drive and that passion to keep going with something. And there are days where, like I'll write 10, maybe 15, 20 pages a day, and I'll just go. And I'll decide it's crap, and I'll just trash all of it. But at least I got writing done. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's so many scripts where I'll just type a scene up. Just like an idea will hit me, and I'll type a scene up. and I'll save it and I'll just sit on it. And sometimes, 3-6 months later, it'll hit me and I'll just continue writing and it'll be something, or maybe it won't be. I think you just got to find what works for you. And, the cards don't work for me. I like writing on paper and then transferring to computer afterwards. Like I like writing an outline out on paper and trying to evolve from that outline onto computer. That's how I work. And I think it's working well. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like,
now, a thing that people get asked is, a lot is how many screenplays did it take you to feel like you had gotten there as a writer? I've heard some people say 7, some people say 3, some people say 5. I think 5's pretty darn close. I mean, that's, I don't even consider myself a great writer. That's why I'm not a screenwriter by trade. I just write because it's necessity. I'm not going to be able to stay busy unless I'm writing material for myself to act in, myself to produce, or, like the little things that we've done. We've had to, out of survival, write scenes for demo reels and sizzles and this, that, and the other thing just to keep working and keep things going. So that also helps, writing little things. And like you said, doing writing exercises helps. So all in all with development, I mean, you got to find a good habit for yourself. You got to figure out how many pages you're going to write a day. And, it's good to look at things in a mathematical way. If a screenplay is 90 pages and I write 3 pages a day, in 3 months I should have a first draft of a screenplay. And then if you need to write 5 screenplays, yeah, it's going to take you a couple years to be a decent writer and be able to take those spec scripts and go get an agent and hopefully go get a job, or, God willing, you sell one.
Lord knows that when I first started, I couldn't even fucking spell. I still can't spell half the time.
And that's the other thing, is like spelling doesn't matter so much. It's just about getting your vision across in a clear way.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody there that's going to be able to...
I write differently, too. Like, when I write a script that I kind of want to sell a little bit, I'll definitely put a lot more description into it. And I'll be like, I'll put like, 22, young, strong, determined, stuff like that. I'll give more details to my characters. When I'm writing for myself to like direct or us to do something, I'll just like write Chris walks down the hallway. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because there's no reason for me to put all that in, because I know that when it gets down to us, we're gonna do it.
We're gonna know what we're doing.
You also gotta know your audience. Like, are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it to sell and try and make money?
Right. Definitely. I mean, and if you are trying to sell it, you're going to want to be as detailed as possible. Now, when it comes to detail, you shouldn't be directing in your scripts, obviously. That's one of the things that everyone always says is don't direct in your scripts, because, no director's going to take your script and feel like, oh, I have to do exactly what this says or else I can't direct the film, whatever. So let's say you...
I do that when I'm writing for myself, though.
Yeah, sure.
So I remember,
of course,
in
things that you want to direct. Now, if it's an absolute necessity to have the camera push in on the red herring of the script or whatever it may be, fine. But anyway, so let's say you've gotten all your writing habits done, you write for a while, you have your script, and you want to produce it on your own. Now you're in what's called development, and development is all about getting coverage on your script, making sure that you're showing it to other people so they can give you notes. And then comes to the part of, are you going to direct it? Or are you going to find somebody else to direct it? Or are you going to sell the script? If you sell the script, fine, no big deal. You option it out, or you just get a deal straight up where they buy it off you. And then it's not yours anymore, and you go home with a paycheck. But if you're going to produce it on your own, which is what most people in our circles seem to be doing, it feels like everyone's doing that these days, is trying to get it done.
To be doing it, but I didn't say that.
That's fair. I mean, look, what's to stop people? We live in a time now where we have YouTube and Vine and all these things where you can do whatever you want. There's so many people making features under the SAG New Media agreement, which is bullshit, because SAG New Media was meant to be for internet videos and internet short films and internet web series, and people are doing full features and getting SAG actors to be in their feature films, and they're not good enough to be feature films, but because they're on the internet, no one gives a shit. It's a very weird time we live in.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's say you're doing it by yourself. You develop the script, you show it to people, you get some actors attached, you have a line producer, or you figure out how to make your own budget, you make a budget for it, and then it's time to go get that money. That part we can't really tell you much about because it's different
for each situation.
And what we would definitely not recommend is like going and just asking your family members for the money. You don't want to go waste your family members' money on your first film. But it's a very difficult thing to get the funding for a film. But let's say you do get the funding for the film, you go make the film, and then you got to distribute the film. Making and getting a film seen is very, very difficult. Some people go that film festival route. Some people go the route of, maybe they already had distribution lined up, or maybe they're just doing it through. There's certain sites online where you can get your movie distributed online. That's not YouTube, where people have to pay to see it, which is a kind of a cool thing that I'm surprised hasn't really caught on more, to be honest with you.
I think it's just such a small market for something like that. I think
right, because who's going to go to this unknown website and look for unknown movies and pay money to them?
Yeah, no one. I mean, everyone wants that Netflix, that instant. Netflix is Netflix is a blessing and a curse, man. It really is, because it's so great because it's so instant, and they were the first ones to do it. Like, I know Amazon has videos on there, but I don't ever go like, oh, I want to watch a movie on Amazon. I don't give a flying flip about Amazon.
Right.
When I go to like watch a movie at home, I'm watching it on Netflix. I'm looking up Netflix.
I use HBO Go a lot for movies.
Well, that's a little different though, because HBO has a legacy of a name, a unanimous name of movies and history.
But I know what you're saying though, because I get Hulu. Was it Hulu Plus?
Yeah.
That's what it's called, Hulu Plus. We get the Hulu Plus, and we don't watch movies on there. I catch up on certain TV shows, but I don't really use Hulu Plus a lot.
No, neither do I.
Yeah, it's mainly Netflix, or I still use Redbox. I still buy some DVDs, not really as many as I used to, but...
Where do you buy DVD anymore?
Well, that's the thing,
Best
too.
Buy?
I mean,
That's
it's a very
about it,
interesting
really.
thing.
You
So,
know what I mean?
if you do get that DVD deal... everything's slowed down to the point that, when you used to sell a movie, you'd be selling it to territories overseas. They don't need our movies as much anymore because we oversaturated their markets, and their markets are starting to fill up with their own movies. They don't need to see American movies all the time.
They're really good at movies these days.
Yeah.
They've always been good. But,
You're right, but now that they're getting to the point that we are, where they have cameras, they're making their own movies and distributing their own movies in their own territories. So I mean, movies are a thing that everyone can do now. So when it comes to development, you need to make sure that you're making a movie that you really, really feel like you need to make, or else just make YouTube videos. I mean, what do you think about the fact that we live in such a saturated time when it comes to filmmaking?
I think we spoke on this a little bit on our first podcast. I think it's, like I said, with Netflix, it's a blessing and a curse. I think it's great that so many artists can get their voice and their vision out there. But I think also it's the curse because we are oversaturated. And we can't find funding as easily. And we can't push forward with projects, our passion projects, because no one cares, because...
Everyone's got a movie. Everyone's got a script.
Yeah, everyone's got a script like that, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's...
Well, it's such a big risk. I mean, probably like 5 years ago, it wasn't so much of a risk because, you could easily just make a piece of junk horror film and you got it yourself a DVD deal with Walmart and Target, and
you can't even do a horror movie anymore like that. Yeah, you can't even do a horror movie like that anymore.
If you made a $100,000 movie that's a horror movie with 99 actors, you'd easily make your money back.
Paranormal Activity was like the last independent horror movie.
Well, that's not true.
No, I know, but I'm saying
the last big one?
Yeah, that, they made that for what, 15, 17?
And by independent, you mean absolutely independent without studio?
No studio help at all. They did on their own money, and then Paramount picked it up.
Right.
The sequels, no, those were all Paramount.
Right, of course. But yeah, the independent feel of people making it on their own time, on their own dime, and being able to create something that was able to be shown in movie theaters. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, because even independent movies these days are funded by a conglomerate. I can't even say the word right. Conglomerate.
Yeah.
Of a big studio. You know what I mean?
Well, even until forever. I mean, part of our funding came from independent investors, and the other half came from one of our distributors. And so... even that was half and half, and that was a tight budget. So working that way is very, very difficult. So when it comes to your development, I mean, it's all about knowing, first of all, going into it, that your movie has a stronger chance of not getting made, and I think everyone knows that. And but you have to be able to not just write your passion project and say, this is the movie. You need to, again, think of it like when I talk to actors, I always say, hey, this is a business. It's 80% marketing, 20% acting. 80% of it is the business side, and it's the same thing with getting a movie made. It's 80% business. Don't go try to make a movie that nobody's going to want to see, or don't go try to make a movie that's not going to make somebody money. If you've got an idea for a movie that's going to make somebody money, they're more likely to put their money into it, and then you can get that puppy greenlit and go shoot it. But look, we're working on a dialogue drama right now that's a mumblecore feel to it. It has kind of that Lena Dunham style going on with it. So it's a dialogue drama with very interesting, heavy themes with a lot of humor in it. And that's going to be a tough one to finance, but we can make it work no matter what. Because of the fact that we are going to be able to, at the end of the day, we won't take no for an answer. We'll just pick up DSLR cameras that we have and own and go shoot it. Because we have that freedom. So there, again, is the blessing and the curse of having an oversaturated market. We're going to get our little passion project made, and we don't have to wait for somebody to say yes or no. It would be nice to be able to put some money into it so that we can up the production value of it and make it more of a commercial film.
Yeah.
But we are thinking of it in a way of business. We can we are writing a script. We have a script written, rather. We have a script written that is something we can make for no budget, or something we can make with a small, modest budget, or something, if we got the right interest in it, could be blown up into a $10 million feature with, a couple of A-names who are handling a couple of the big dialogue-heavy roles, and market it out that way as an independent with these A-list actors who are tackling some heavy dialogue and some heavy themes. Something that's not necessarily an Avengers type movie where they're just handling, and I don't want to say fluff, but comic book movies do have that a bit, and dialogue dramas don't. So so again, we were talking about with Deadpool, a PG-13 movie is more marketable than a rated R movie. Same thing goes. If it's a dialogue drama handling heavy themes, it has a smaller audience than, say, Deadpool. And sorry to keep bringing up my film, but we were in the same theater as Deadpool, and everyone wanted to see Deadpool because that's the fun action movie that's got laughs in it, and we were the sad, dramatic movie dealing with depression and leukemia and things of that nature. So it's like, what do you want to go see on Valentine's Day? How to Be Single, that was out on Valentine's Day as well. They did very, very well.
It's a great movie release on Valentine's Day.
We came in, and we came in third place in the theaters that we were in, which was awesome. It was an extreme honor, but at the same time, our film, we know that we have a smaller market value in the theaters than those other two movies that I just named, and that's it. So, when you're developing it, when you're starting that writing process, don't let that guide your writing, but don't let it be something that you never think about.
Yeah, definitely.
What else do you have to say about development?
I think you said it all, man. I think development, it's ultimately it's a tough process, and it comes down to your script. You got to have a good script first before you even start, and then after that, it's building your cast and then finding the right director. But there are movies where I know the directors weren't good. I'm just like,
sure,
that director's not that good, but that cast made that movie. And that script was solid. So now we have a good movie. We have I would say an 8 out of 10 movie, in my opinion.
Well, it's absolutely, and that's like they always say. I mean, for a director, 99% of your job or 90% of your job is casting the right people in the right roles who are going to come onto set and be great collaborators and be able to make a great movie with you.
Yeah.
So, okay, real quick, as we're ending, who's getting that Best Actor award?
I'm putting my money on Leo.
I'm going to say Leo as well. Who's getting Best Director?
I hate to say it, but Alejandro.
You think Alejandro's going to get it?
It's.
I don't know. See, I'm still out as far as that goes. But for Best Picture, I definitely think we're looking at.
Who do you think did a better job directing than Alejandro?
What are our other options here as far as?
I mean, your guess is better than mine. I don't
Let me look.
I don't have it up right now.
Well, because we said Big Short, and you know how I feel about that.
But those are best pictures. I know best pictures.
So best director
nomination.
Oscars, 2016, and here we go. IndieWire's bringing it up.
Of course, there's always a fucking ad.
There's an ad. Okay, so our nominees are Tom McCarthy for Spotlight, Adam McKay, Big Short, George Miller for Mad Max, Alejandro for The Revenant, and Lenny Abramson for The Room.
Alejandro I think it's George Miller.
I don't know. I think it's Alejandro. You think?
I said or.
I think Revenant might sweep.
That would be. I mean, I don't want to say awesome, but I wouldn't be mad if it happened.
Me either. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Our predictions are in. All right, that's it for Hollywood Happy Hour podcast. We hope you had a good time. Thank you for staying with us, and we'll see you next time.